Solve the World, Episode 16, Bad Blood.
Tiff's blood was on Tiff and Tiff alone. 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 Taxi. Jenn gave him directions. He said he won't go all the way to Santa Barbara for the $130 she had to offer. Take me as far as that'll take me. You got it. They drove. Jenn passed out. No dreams, just hot sweat. Hey, you doing all right back there? What time is it? Just north of 5 a.m. You sick or something? Jenn rubbed her eyes. She was drenched. She felt her face. Her wig slipped off, rolling down her wet brow. Taxi driver tried to cover his shock by acting as if he was merely clearing his throat. You got cancer? What? Jenn responded in a daze. She was finding it difficult to keep her eyes open. Cancer. You on chemo? No, I'm hunting Leviathan. She tumbled off, her eyes burning shut as she slid down in her seat. Four walls. The same four walls she dreamed of every night. Menacing walls. But they weren't motionless this time. No, they were undulating. Like a boat swaying in a busy current. Undulating. Almost bubbling. And there was something underneath. Not blood, not feces. Something else. What color was it? Maybe clear? Was it water? No, not quite clear. It wasn't water. It has a high viscosity. It's thick clear. No, it's undulating too. Undulating from clear to something else. Green, yeah, green. It's pale green, and it's soaking through. It'll get us. It has a purpose, a design. It's seeping in because it wants to get at us. It wants in. Why? Why does it want to get at us? What did we ever do? What did we ever do? What did we ever... Don't kill. Poison! It's poison! Oh God, it's in our veins! It's poison! It's poison! Please, somebody hear us. It's poison. It's murdering us. Wake up. Hey! The taxi driver was crouched over Jenn, lightly smacking her on her sweat-drenched face. You're as white as a ghost, so I brought you here. No extra charge. But I need you out of my taxi. Can you get out? Jenn blinked, trying to focus her eyes and her mind into this moment. Where am I? I took you to the Santa Barbara hospital. Can you call your friend? Tell him that you're here at the hospital? No, I need to go to the address. She's the only... Jenn's bones hurt. Not just her broken rib, but every bone. From within. They pulsed with pain, as if they were ready to crumble from within themselves. I can get up. The taxi driver was quick to help her to her feet. He smiled at her. He'd done a good thing. He'd be proud of himself for this altruistic service. Okay, I can check myself in. Thank you. You go. You can go. Okay, lady. Glad to help. You take care of yourself, you hear? Beat that cancer. Right, beat that cancer, Jenn repeated. She walked through the front doors, cognizant enough to know she needed to be free of this taxi driver. What was going on? Why was she so weak? Walking hurt. Jenn hobbled through the entrance and deliriously found a bathroom. The bathroom mirror didn't paint a pretty picture. Jenn was in trouble. Her skin was pasty white. She'd been sucked of all life, and she left her wig in the taxi. She really did look like a cancer patient, one that was losing the battle. Fortunately, an unoccupied computer in the waiting room welcomed Jenn as she stumbled out of the bathroom. Struggling to keep her focus and retain full consciousness, she typed in Mrs. Moose's address. Lucky. Jenn smiled at the irony of calling herself lucky. It's within walking distance, a mile and a half. With that, it was decided. Jennifer Dash would walk. This was not like walking in Louisiana at 9:30 in the evening. This was a pre-dawn zombie hustle. Every bone and fiber shouted abuse with every passing step. Obscenity after obscenity. The pain wouldn't let up. But step by step, she was closer. Closer to an answer. Closer to her only hope for salvation. Closer to the end, whether it be the end of her life, the end of Jenn's adventures in this world, or merely the end of a chapter. Jenn's eyes pushed themselves down at every moment. She found herself compromising and keeping her eyes shut as long and as often as possible, only slitting them open to recalculate her position on the sidewalk. There. Not death, not sleep, but there. Jenn had arrived at the mansion, its spindles and moats smiling back at her. There. No more pain, no more mystery, just there. In her current state, Jenn couldn't hold much of a thought. And she couldn't remember that she had the power to let herself in. And she couldn't remember what she wanted from Mrs. Moose. Couldn't even remember what she could expect. There was a doorbell. Jenn managed to slap it with a limp wrist. No answer. Slap again. No answer. Slap the doorbell. Slap it until you die. Lights turned on. The lady approached. Salvation was near. Good heavens, what happened to you? Jenn collapsed. At least she thought she did. As if locked in a dream state, she witnessed herself floating past the gates, over the drawbridge, past the front door. Was she walking? Where was Mrs. Moose? No matter. Whether it be reality or just perception of a dream, it indicated progress towards an end. That's all Jennifer Dash wanted anymore. An end. Past the moat. Through the front door. The middle staircase, not the right, where Jenn once creaked. The stairs rose and fell. Down, down, down the rabbit hole. Bolted metal door. Another set of keys. Door open. Past the threshold. Barren. Just a lawn chair resting in the center of a windowless room. The final throes of consciousness leaked out of Jenn with the tremble-inducing thought. Another dungeon. No dreams. Awake. Both arms splayed out. An IV in the right arm appears to be receiving blood from several unmarked blood bags. This isn't a dungeon. It's a hospital. It's hope. The left arm portrayed a more grim picture. The arm was slashed horizontally just north of the wrist, bleeding out. A large plastic tub lay underneath the arm, acquiring a pool's worth of red liquid. Where am I? Jenn whispered. You're in my home, in the inner chamber. The voice, clearly Mrs. Moose's, came directly behind her. Jenn managed to pivot her head enough to catch a glimpse of the bedraggled-looking old witch. The verdict was out whether she'd proved to be a good witch or a bad witch. Why am I here? Jenn couldn't remember much yet. Everything was fuzzy. You came here just a few days ago. You looked healthy and had beautiful locks of hair. Then, a couple hours ago, you came here, bald as the clear night sky's moon, sweating and pulsing a greenish tint through your veins. How? I don't understand what's happening. Quiet now, child. It's all okay. Whether you knew it or not, you came to just the right place. Mrs. Moose pet Jenn on her head. I'll take care of you, and then send you on your way. Way. I have to get away, Jenn moaned. Yes, I'll need you to tell me your story. You should be feeling better by the minute, so you just take your time, child. You... Jenn's attention drifted to Mrs. Moose. She was squeezing the last of a bag of blood into the IV. Then, with clinical poise, she opened a steel-colored cabinet wherein a fridge of blood bags hung like clothes on a line. She snatched one and brought it over, attached it, and flicked the IV to get it going. I think enough's been extracted out of your system now, don't you think? Mrs. Moose eyed the ever-growing pool of blood below Jenn's slashed arm. She handed a towel to Jenn. Hold this tightly on your wrist. Once the bleeding calms down, we'll get you stitched up. Jenn motioned to her slit wrist. Did you do this? Don't worry, child. I injected a localized anesthetic first. You didn't even wake. Why are you doing this? I could be wrong, of course. But if I didn't gamble, I believe there was a very good chance you were going to die, and I don't allow death to come into my home. It's against my rules. Rules? It's proper to think of them more as guidelines than rules. I've come to break many of them over the years, and it wouldn't do to have a rule maintained that you've already come to break now, would it? Mrs. Moose smiled as if expecting an audience to laugh at the obvious levity with which she spoke. Hearing no ovation, she went on. But never have I broken that first guideline. I never, ever allow death in here. Who are you? Like, really? A genuine smile from the old lady preceded her answer. I've been waiting ages to be asked that question. It's a question I love to answer, because it implies the questioner is starting to see the world as it really is. Huh? A vast network of complicated connections and systems, Mrs. Moose smirked. But first, my dear child, I need you to tell me everything you know. What cause affected your coming to me in this state? Cause? Yes, well, the effect is quite clear to me, and I should congratulate the two of us. You're looking much better already. Color's coming back into your pretty face. I gambled correctly. I think your life is saved. For now. Jenn was, in fact, starting to feel better. Her thoughts grew progressively clearer, the void of haziness clearing. Tell me what happened, Miss Calling. The old lady pulled up a stool from behind Jenn and sat next to her slit wrist. Methodically and gracefully, she looked underneath the towel at the cut. Nodding to herself, she pulled out a needle and string from her purse and began threading. I went on a late date with a man. He took me past security to a ride on the new unreleased ride, the veneration celebration at Magical Kingdom. What was the man's name, child? Antonio D'Anconia. Ah, Mrs. Moose gave a knowing nod. We got caught inside. A bunch of security people interrogated me. Well, not really. They injected me with a GPS system and shaved my head for not signing this paper. Miss Calling, did you sign it? Yeah, after they cut off my hair. Why'd you come to me? Because I was afraid that if I went directly to Patriot, they'd track me and get all the Patriots. Jenn tried her best to sell the lie. She wasn't about to tell the old lady, who, let's face it, Jenn thought, very likely is a witch at this point. But whatever the case, it was clear she was helping her. Jenn didn't even notice as the moose pricked her skin with the needle and string. Magical Kingdom has a lot at stake. They couldn't put their whole ecosystem at risk because of one teenage girl. Oh, I should have... Mrs. Moose hustled out of the room mid-sentence and mid-stitch, leaving Jenn's arm with a needle and string hanging 9 inches from Jenn's wrist. Jennifer alone. Jennifer alone, but not. There was someone else in the room. Jenn jolted in her seat as she caught a shadow bolt behind her. Jenn spun around in her seat to catch the silhouette's frame, but as she turned, her IV pricked out, spurting blood straight into Jenn's face. Panicked, Jenn swiveled to correct herself. That's when the flimsy chair buckled and folded under the swinging pressure. Jenn collapsed in a nervous wreck, her left ankle hitting the bucket of her own blood. In seeming slow motion, Jenn watched, wide-eyed, as the bucket flew through the air in a perfect trajectory. The bucket of blood ceremoniously flushed down upon Jenn. For a moment, she froze in shock. Then, with utter disdain for all the misadventures the last 12 hours had brought, Jenn, soaked through with her own blood, burst into laughter. Whoever the shadow monster was, it didn't matter. He could come eat Jenn whole for all she cared. Good heavens, child, what happened? Mrs. Moose shouted in astonishment. I saw something and I fell. I see, Mrs. Moose said, and following Jenn's lead, couldn't suppress her own chuckle. The next 90 minutes saw Jenn immersed in a luxurious bath, re-IV'd, and fully stitched up. She now lounged on a sofa in a large, exotically decorated living room. A parrot stood on top of his cage beside Jenn, swaying to and fro. Jenn held a 2-gallon jug of water and, following strict orders, gulped from it every minute as she continued to peruse the room, spotting a fake palm tree over there and a marble giraffe over here, no doubt reminding Jenn of old Claude, forever slamming his mechanical head and neck against that hard, black pavement. Mrs. Moose walked in, holding out a package of mixed nuts. "You should eat these as well." Jenn heartily stuffed her mouth. All the trauma had given her quite the appetite. Between chomps, she managed to ask, "Should I be worried?" "Of what, child? Someone coming to get me because, they know where I am?" "Sweetie, there's no such thing as GPS in the bloodstream. They could inject you with a chip, but I don't think that's what happened. If it was a chip, you'd know it. Then what'd they give me? Time-released poison, no doubt." The information caused Jenn to look crestfallen. So they meant to kill me the whole time?
1. Don't kill.
I've seen this before. It has a neuron agent in it that causes the brain to misfire, the results of which look very much like alcohol poisoning. I suspect as well there was a percentage of alcohol in the injection to begin with. Anyone that cared enough to do an autopsy would have no reason to suspect anything other than alcohol overdose. Mrs. Moose, you're telling me that they not only planned to murder me, but frame me as well, make it look like an accident? Systems fight hard to maintain their place in the world. They'll do a whole lot worse than off some vagabond girl. And don't call me that. I've told you before, my name is Gertrude Norman. You may call me Miss Norman, or Gertrude, if you wish, but don't insult me by calling me that hideous, cartoony name. Yes, ma'am. I've called the Patriot. He and his friends will be here to pick you up in, well, I'm sure it'll be no time at all. You can rest here until they come. What? Why would you do that? Maybe it was a bath or the free blood, but Jenn had already decided that Miss Norman, was a wise old sage worthy of trust. Had she really ratted her out? This is the best thing for you, dear. You can't get out of this without serving one boss or another. If I let you leave and just wander off, I wouldn't be doing you any favors. I'm not willing to waste my precious blood on some precocious girl who thinks she can walk away clean from all her commitments. Jenn thought she had a wedge to push the conversation on its heels. About that, who in their right mind keeps a mini-fridge full of vials of blood on hand? What sort of vampire are you? I resent that tone, young lady. If you hadn't been through an ordeal today, I'd slap you for insolence. Mind your manners and mind your tongue. You are my guest in my home. Speak polite. Sorry, Jenn said somberly, her shame rubbing out the sting of being betrayed back into the hands of the Patriot. But why did you call him, ma'am? He can't help me. He can't save me from those people's wrath. No, you're probably right. He can't save you, but he can kill you. And if you don't give him what he wants, what you signed up to give him, then he will hunt you down. As for my responsibility, I'd just as well see him do it. This generation has forgotten what loyalty means. So you're a patriot after all. Look at me. Do I look like the type of person who'd get in bed with an underground Mayan cult? Mayan cult? The Patriot? He didn't look Native American. What on earth was she talking about? Jenn didn't have time to ponder it, though, as the old whatever she was worked up in a lather. Good heavens, no. I'm not a patriot, nor am I a parrot, or an FBI insider, or with the CIA, or associated with the Babbitts and Dianconias, or a card-carrying member of the NRA. I'm with none of them, and yet I function as a cog for all of them. What? But you just said, I don't serve any organization. I work to understand them. And in understanding, and the process of gaining that understanding, you start to hear whispers of deep truth in this world. What's that? The old lady smiled. Goodness me, I must be getting on in age. I can't believe I'm going to tell you. Her smile broadened still. Oh well, I guess I'm taking a fancy to you. I'm old, and I need young people to tell all my secrets to. The Patriot said 3 words to Jenn when he pulled up to Mrs. Moose's mansion. You look hideous. He was traveling with an entourage of men, none of which Jenn recognized except for Louise, Tiff's friend. She wondered if he knew about Tiff, knew if she was alive, but she dared not risk bringing it up. As it turned out, she wasn't given an opportunity to make friendly anyway. After Patriot sneered his 3-word hello at Jenn, he shooed her to the front seat of the limo, separated by a blackened window from the goings-on of the entourage. Hi, I'm Jenn. Wimbledon, said the limo driver. They shook hands. Pleased to meet your acquaintance, Wimbledon. Mind telling me where we're going today? Orders are that we're going to Las Vegas. Las Vegas, huh? I've never been there. Jenn tried to act whimsical and naive. That card used to get her far in life, but lately, she'd been deprived of her innocence. Perhaps feigning it would somehow wrestle it back. Do you have cancer? Wimbledon asked. No, I just got into a bad deal is all. Lost a bet. I've been there, sister. Jenn liked this guy. Everyone lately had been so serious. She needed a little levity. No worries, though. It'll grow back in no time. I hope so. So, how far is it to Las Vegas? It'll take us just about all day, rest assured. Oh, okay. Speaking of rest, do you mind if I sleep a little? I didn't get much sleep last night. Burning the candle at both ends, eh? Huh? You know, burning the candle at both ends. You never heard that before? No. Jenn tried to picture it. It seemed evil, wrong. Why would someone do that? A candle from both ends? It was so unnatural. The image of a white candle pouring out its life wax from top and bottom melted through Jenn's conscience as she drifted off to sleep. Hey you, wake up. Wake up, okay? Wimbledon nudged Jenn. Groggily, she responded. What? Are we there yet? I'm about to pull over. We're 20 miles outside of Las Vegas. They're going to blindfold you and put you in the trunk. What? Why? What's going on? Place we're going to is like top secret. They don't want you to know where it is, okay? Don't worry. You have what they want, right? Jenn nodded. So they have no reason to hurt you. Well, that's comforting, Jenn said with an air of exhausted sarcasm. But listen, they will want to scare you. That's how they control people, you know? They're always doing this to scare you, to make sure you don't think twice about talking, yada yada, you know? Okay, Wimbledon. Thank you for being kind. Hey, in this world, I can't afford to be anything but kind to the people that don't mean any harm. I like that philosophy. Wimbledon pulled the limo to the side of the road. One of Patriot's entourage opened Jenn's side door. Get up. Jenn unbuckled her belt. The henchman yanked Jenn's arm. Get out. Jenn stumbled out of the limo, landing on her hands and knees. The dust of the sick desert air blew into Jenn's eyes as Luis walked up to her, blindfold in his clutches. He wrapped it around Jenn's eyes, then wrenched her arms around her back, handcuffing her. Why? Why the handcuffs? Don't want you to escape. They marched her to what Jenn presumed was the trunk. As they shut her up in that dark space, ideological ideas of helplessness inundated Jenn's mind. The trunk slammed shut, the engine roared. They were moving, taking Jenn to a place she didn't know, locked in a dark, confined space. Jennifer Dash couldn't control anything. She couldn't move, she couldn't see. The sound of the engine and ground trembling underneath made listening to anything, e.g. back of the limo discussions, nearly impossible. This was solitary confinement, sensory deprivation at its finest. Hey guys, this is Dante Stack. You've just listened to episode 16, which means you are now just 2 episodes away from the end of part 1. Now, when I initially released these episodes week by week, after part 1, I released a noob recap episode. As quickly as possible, I just tried to recap the events of the first 18 episodes so that people could jump into part 2 without having listened to part 1. If you're interested in listening to that noob recap, go to dantestack.com/podcast-extras and scroll down until you see the appropriate noob recap.
Also, after episode 18, we took a bunch of fan questions and I answered them in a special premium Q&A type podcast episode. We called that a Solving the World special. You can purchase that for 99 cents on our store at dantestack.com/store. It's real easy to buy. It's just a quick download. And if you're the type that just is gobbling up Solve the World, it gives you some deeper insight. It's kind of like the behind the scenes special features on a DVD type of situation. So, once again, both those things you can find at dantestack.com. If you just want to scroll around the website, be sure to click on the Solve the World tab and scroll through all the pages under that heading. Okay, guys? See you next time.
Hello, I'm Amber from Indiana. I've listened to all 100 episodes of Jenn's story. Jennifer's headed to Las Vegas against her will in the trunk of a limousine, but she'll find more answers in Sin City than she expects, and much more death. Stay with us. Endure with Jenn next time on Solve the World.